Hey, what's up? Welcome back to another tutorial. Today we're going to create this skateboard. Let's dive right in. Okay, before we get started, go to Edit, Preferences, Add-ons, and search for Node Wrangler and make sure that it's activated. And then we'll start with the board. So press Shift A, Mesh, and add a plane. And then we can go into top view by pressing 7 on our numpad. Tap to go into edit mode, press S and X, and we'll scale it down just a bit. And then press Ctrl R to add a loop cut. And then with your scroll wheel, increase the loop cuts to maybe around 4 of them. Then we'll go back into top view, select these two verts, and then we'll shape the board. So press S and X, and we'll scale it down on the X axis. And here we can just kind of play around a bit with the shape. There we go. I think that looks kind of nice. Okay. Then press 2 to go into edge select, and then press E and Z, and then extrude it up just a tiny bit. Select this edge here and press Ctrl B to bevel it and increase the bevels with the mouse wheel. And then give it a nice little curve. Then press A to select all, and then Alt E and F to extrude faces along normals, and press S to have it even, and then give it a nice thickness, just like that. Then we'll press Tab to go out of edit mode, and then press Ctrl 3 to add a subdivision modifier. Tab to go back into edit mode, and then we'll press Ctrl R to add a loop cut horizontally here. Right click it to confirm, and then press Ctrl B. And we'll bevel it, and we'll add 2 nice bevel lines there. Ctrl R there, and add a nice loop cut there. And then right click, shade auto smooth, and that's the shape of our board. And then we'll continue with the trucks. So press Shift A, Mesh, and add a plane. Press 7 to go into top view, S, and then scale that down. Look at the size of it from this view, and I think this looks pretty nice. G and Y will move it forward, maybe make it a tiny bit smaller. There, I think that looks pretty good. We'll go into front view, press G by pressing 1 on your numpad, then press G and Z, and we'll move it down. And then press Tab to go into edit mode, and then E, and we'll extrude it. And then press Ctrl R, add a loop cut right there in the middle, and then press Ctrl B to bevel that. Maybe something like this. Press 3 to go into face select, select this bottom face, and then E to extrude it down. Press 2 to go into edge select, we'll select this edge here, press G and Z, and we'll move that one up. There, I think that looks like a nice little truck. We'll go into our modifiers tab, add a slight bevel modifier, we'll change the segments to 4, and we'll decrease the amount a lot. Maybe 0.01, right click, shade auto smooth. And I think that looks pretty nice. Okay, then we'll continue with the truck. So we'll add a cube, and then press Tab to go into edit mode, and then scale that down. Press tilde key to open the view menu and go into the right select and right face, and go into right view. I think this is 4 or 6 on your numpad, I'm not sure. Just test it out so you have a side view of your board. And then we'll scale it down, and then leave edit mode, press Ctrl 3 to add a subdivision modifier, increase the render as well. And do the same for the board, by the way, increase the render to 3. Then we can go into edit mode, and then we'll press S and X, and we'll scale that up. Maybe go into front view so we can see how wide we want it to be. I think this looks pretty decent. Then press Ctrl R, add a loop cut, and then press Ctrl B to bevel it. And then there we go. And then press Ctrl R, add another loop cut right there. Once again, bevel it with Ctrl B. Maybe something like this. And then Ctrl R, add a horizontal loop cut. Press 2 to go to edge select, alt click to select the whole loop, then hold Ctrl and deselect just this edge, press X, and then click on dissolve edges. Press 3 to go into face select, select this top face here, and then press E to extrude it out. Press Ctrl R, add a loop cut, move it to the left, Control R, add another loop cut in the middle, S and X, and we'll scale that up and give it a nice round shape. Leave edit mode and then right click shade auto smooth. Then shift A, mesh, and we'll add a cylinder. I'll go into a right view and we'll scale this down and then we'll move it right there. And there I'm going to increase this a tiny bit more, these subdivisions on the trucks. And then maybe have this one here, doesn't have to stick out that much. Maybe make it a tiny bit bigger. There. And then we'll add a bevel modifier, change the segments to 4, and we'll decrease the amount. This should be a tiny bit rounded, and then we'll press Ctrl 2 to add a subdivision. Right click, shade auto smooth. There, I think this one, we'll see if it needs to be a bit less wide, but maybe it should be. I'm just going to scale this down just a tiny bit. Okay, then I go in right view, I select these items and then press R to rotate them, and then we can place them right on top of here. There we go. Then we'll select the truck and then go in edit mode, go into face select, select this outer face, press Shift S and then cursor to selected. Leave edit mode, press Shift A, mesh, and add a cylinder. Press RY90 to rotate it, tap to go into edit mode, and then we'll scale it down. And then maybe have it something like this. Check the front view. Yeah, that looks pretty good. I might move it a tiny bit in. And then in edit mode, I'll press I to inset this face, and then E to extrude it in, and then S, and I'll scale it down. And then select this face, press I, and then E. There we go. And then we're going to add a bevel modifier and then just make it smaller. Like 0.05 maybe. Press Ctrl 2 to add a subdivision modifier. Right click, shade auto smooth. Select the wheel, select this face here, press I to inset, and then maybe inset it twice. Press Ctrl R, add a loop cut, move it in. There we go. And then we'll add a bolt, so add another cylinder. Now we'll change it to 8 vertices. And then press RY90, rotate it, scale it down. And then press G and X, move it into a nice position. I think that looks pretty good. We'll add a small bevel modifier once again. And then press Ctrl 2 to add a subdivision modifier. Shade auto smooth, mesh, add another cylinder, we'll change it back to 32, press RY90 to rotate it once again, scale it all the way down, G and X, and then maybe like that. And then we can shift click the bolt and then press Ctrl L and then P to copy our modifiers, and then right click, shade auto smooth. There we go. Okay. Then we'll select the first object we made, go to modifiers, we'll add a mirror, and then mirror object is going to be our board, and then it's going to be the axis on Y. Do it for this part as well. We're just going to be mirroring everything now. There we go. This little thing also needs to be mirrored. Select the board, change the axis to Y. And then for the wheel, we'll mirror it, select the board, and this is going to be an X and Y. And the same goes for these. We'll mirror it, X and Y, select the board, and then the last one. Mirrored, X and Y, select the board. Okay, so that's our board. We can look a bit, you can change the width of it now, the length if you want to, you can change the size of your wheels and play around with it a tiny bit. It's all up to you. I think that this looks pretty cute. I'll go into front view and then press Shift A. I'll add an empty and I'll add a cube. Before doing that, press Shift C to reset your 3D cursor. Then add the cube, the empty cube. Select your whole board, then select the cube, press Ctrl P, to parent, and then object, keep transform. And now if we grab this empty, we can move the whole board. And then we'll press Shift A, we'll add a camera. Press 0 on your numpad to go into camera view, go into the output settings, change the resolution to 1920 by 1920. And then now we can press G and Z twice to grab it and move it back. And we can kind of make it so it fits the whole board. Something like this. And then we select the empty and then press R twice, and then we can rotate it. And I like this rotation. Maybe move it up just a tiny bit, and I think I can move my camera just a tiny bit closer. There we go. Yeah, I think this is a nice rotation. You can rotate it any way you want. You can also play around a bit with the animation on this if you want to put a rotation animation on the empty object later, but that's all up to you. Okay, now we'll press Shift A, mesh, and add a plane. Press RX90 to rotate it. With GUI 4 to move it back. And then tab to go into edit mode, scale it up so it covers the background. Okay, then press set and go into rendered view, and then press Shift A, light, add an area light, press RX90 minus to rotate it, then press GY3 to move it back, go into the light settings, and then we'll increase the size so it covers our whole camera view, and then maybe change the power to 200, maybe more. 350 we'll start with. Shift A, light, add another area light, press G and Z to move it up. Change the shape to disk, size to 2, and then maybe the power to 80. I also see I want to move this background back just a bit, just so it doesn't catch any light from other objects. There we go. Okay, then press period and change your pivot point to 3D cursor, select your top light, press Shift D to duplicate, then press RX45 to rotate it, and then press RZ60 minus to rotate it again. And I think that is a pretty nice angle. And then press Shift D, RZ120 to duplicate it and rotate it, and then press RXX, and then we can shine this light from the bottom, and it will decrease the power to 60 maybe. GZ twice, you can move it back just a bit. There we go, that looks good for now. We can always play around with the lighting a bit later once we've added our materials. And then press Shift A, add an area light, press RX90, and then G and Y, move it towards your background, change the shape to disk, you can change the size to 3. And then we'll go into camera view and we'll change the power to 400 maybe. That is a bit too much, 300, there, that looks good for now. Okay, and then we'll start with the fun part. We'll start adding some materials. We'll start with our background. For the materials, if we move our mouse to the left top corner, you see it change it into kind of like a plus sign here. And then if you click and drag to the right, we can open a second screen. Then we can change this one to rendered. And then we can change this one to our shader editor instead. And then we can select our background, add a new material. And then we'll change the color to 9FFFF5. There we go. I'm going to make this just a tiny bit bigger. Okay, then for the wheels, click on the wheels, add a new material, we'll call that wheels. We'll change the base color to be 26C58F. Okay, and then we'll do the metal material. I'll zoom in just a tiny bit. We'll add a new material, call that metal. And then we're going to add a few nodes. We'll press Shift A, S, and add a noise texture. With the noise texture selected, press Ctrl T to add a mapping in the texture coordinate. And then we can add Shift A, S, and add a color ramp. And then connect the noise to the ramp, and then the ramp to the base color. Change the metallic to 1, and then we can go ahead, and this was a mistake, this should not be in base color, I want this in roughness, and the base color is just going to be a tiny bit blue. There we go. I'm changing it to C4DEE7. I'm also going to go and add a bump, And then our noise texture is going to go into the height of the bump, and then the bump is going to go into the normal. And then we're going to decrease the bump to 0.1. And then we'll go to our noise, and I'm going to decrease it just a bit. Maybe like there. I think that looks pretty good. Change the detail to 15. There, yeah, that looks starting to look nice. Just a very slight texture, makes it look nice. Then we can select all the other parts that are going to be metal, and then shift click the last one that has the material, then press Ctrl L to link, and then press M to link the materials. And there we go. I missed that part, so link that as well. There we go. Okay, then we'll start adding the materials for the board. The board will have 3 materials. We'll have one for the grip tape, one for the wood layers, and then one for the pattern. We'll start with the wood layers, so just select the board, add a new, we'll call it wood layers. Okay, then let's see, there's our shader. Okay, then we'll start with a wave texture. There we go, wave texture. Press Ctrl T to add that texture coordinate and the mapping. And then we'll just add a color ramp. And those go connect like that. And then that one goes into base color. And then we'll rotate the Y to 90. There we go. And then we can see that we kind of have like these makeshift layers. We'll change the color of our ramp to 7C5112, and the light color is going to be FFC C8F. Okay, now we can play around a bit with our scaling if we want to. I think I'm also going to change this to a constant and then move it to 0.5. Here, that gives us nice straight lines. I do think I'm gonna increase the scaling there just a tiny bit, 0.67. Yeah, I think that looks nice. Okay, then we'll go and do our grip. So I'm just gonna turn around the board. I'll press Z to go into solid mode because it's easier to see, and then I'm going to go into face select all the top faces that I want the grip to have. There, and then that one. Then I'll go into select more or less, and then I'm going to select more, and then go to the material tab, add a new material slot, add a new material, click assign. And then now if we go here, we'll see that our new material is on the board. Then we'll go in here and we'll call it grip. And then we go here, we can see our shader, and then we'll add some roughness to this, make it 0.75, and then I'm also going to go and add a noise texture here, and then press Ctrl T, and then our noise texture is going to go into a color ramp and into a bump, and then we'll connect them, connect this one to the base color, and then connect this one to the bump, and then a bump into the normal. There we go. Okay, then we'll go and change the colors. I want this white color to be 383838, and then we need to change the scaling of our noise texture, make it like 110 or something. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Increase the detail to 15, and then we can decrease the bump maybe to 0.5. I do see that this has also kind of gotten a noise texture. I do want this to be a wave, so I'm going to select this face, select the wood, click assign. And I need to click assign there. And there. Let's see, make sure that I have all the layers. Click assign. There we go, I do like that more. Okay, go into camera view, and then we'll make our dot pattern. So once again, I'll select the bottom layers now. There we go. I'll have just those. And then go to select more or less, select more. add a new material slot, add a new material, click assign. Okay, then we'll go into camera view, and then we'll start adding some nodes. We'll add a Voronoi texture, like that. Press Ctrl T, and like we did with the other textures. And then press Shift A, add a math node, and then that is going in there. Before we need to change add to less than, and we want that to go into value, and then we want a ramp, and then those connect, and then that one connects there. There we go. And then we want to decrease the randomness, and then we're going to increase the scale maybe a bit, and we'll go here, change the scaling here on the X, maybe just a bit like that, and then increase the Y there, and then we can change this threshold, and here you can really play around with the scaling to kind of make the dots. You can make lots of dots or just a few. You can kind of figure it out the way you like it most. I think this looks pretty sweet. There. And then you can also change it to the colors you want. I'm going to change my colors to be A94875, and then I'm going to add the green color again, which is going to be 1EFFB9. Just like that, and then we can go here to the corner and then slide it over so we have it full screen again. Okay, that's perfect. Then I'm going to go into the render settings, change the engine to cycles, device to GPU compute, change the samples to 128. I'll change these to 512. Go to color management, change the look to medium high contrast. And here we go into our world settings, and we'll change the colors just a tiny bit. Let's see if we can find something that looks nice. There, I think that looks kind of cool. The color is going to be 8B3D78. And then all you have to do is go and render. Thanks for joining me. If you have questions or requests, drop them in the comment section below. I'd love to see your results, so tag me on Instagram. If you enjoyed this tutorial, feel free to like and subscribe. See you soon!